Hi class, if you have not watched the introductory video and the syllabus video, if you have not looked over the syllabus yet, I encourage you to do that now. This video lecture is the first start, week one, right? Before you go any further though, you really need to watch the syllabus video, read over the syllabus so you know what's expected. Today we're going to talk about why critical thinking matters and go into some detail about that. Something that I discussed early on in the introductory video is critical thinking helps us get closer to the truth. If we make good arguments, we will get closer to the truth. I think often we won't know the truth with certainty because of our own human limitations. It's not an issue with the truth. I think things are true or false, capital T, big T, sort of objective true. But I'm often skeptical that humans can know the truth fully because we're very limited creatures. So often we have to try to get close or approximate the truth. We do that through good argument, in part, using good logic, reasoning, and evidence to piece things together and to make good conclusions. And that really matters, obviously, right? Because we think the truth matters. And it matters for all kinds of things. It matters for religion, and it matters for our faith and morality. It matters for our relationships. It matters for our criminal justice system. It matters in politics. It matters in issues of global warfare, trying to distribute limited resources and solve big problems. We need to know the truth. We need to have good answers. We need to have good arguments. And so the book early on in chapter 1, says critical thinking is not interested in what you believe. It's interested in how you come to your beliefs. Right? How do you get to those things you believe? Critical thinking is not interested in what you think. It's interested in how you think. So what you think is the content of your belief, right? I believe that climate change is real, right? I believe that there are real issues with global warming and climate change. That's the what. Critical thinking is not interested as much in the what. They're interested in the how. How did you come to that conclusion? What reasons do you have? What evidence do you have that leads you to that belief, right? And this is important because if you believe things for bad reasons, your beliefs might be true, but they'll be accidentally true, right? So I could say, I believe Sarah's birthday is June 8th. And if someone said, well, why do you believe it? I said, well, I threw a dart at a dartboard. It hit the number 8. We were in the month of June, and so I said Sarah's birthday is June 8th. Well, lo and behold, maybe Sarah's birthday is June 8th. So I believed a true thing. But my reasons for believing it were bad, and they're not very reliable in the future. If I keep using that method, I'm going to be wrong a lot more than I'm right. So the what of your belief, the content, could be true, but if you don't have good reasons, good arguments, good evidence supporting it, then it's not very reliable. Well, my parents said so. I think I read that somewhere. I saw it on TV or something. I just feel like it's true. Those aren't good reasons. So we want to get to the why you think something or believe something, because that's how you create a coherent worldview. A worldview where you believe things and you can justify why you believe them. It matters, of course, because beliefs drive actions, right? Beliefs lead to actions. If I believe that climate change is real, then that's going to lead me to live a certain way. Maybe it's going to mean I reduce my carbon footprint, or I try to recycle. I try to participate in things that are going to be more sustainable, right? Because I believe it. If I don't believe in climate change, if I think it's not real, if there's not good evidence supporting it, then it will change my actions. Beliefs lead to actions. So if we want to be responsible for the things we do, we have to be responsible for our beliefs. And being responsible for our beliefs means having good grounds, justifying them, having good evidence, right? A worldview that can be supported, rationally defensible. So that's sort of why critical thinking matters. It's very important, right? I can give some, I'll give an example. Part of critical thinking is helping you create a very coherent worldview that you understand, recognize, and can support or defend. But that's not easy. So if I take a moral example, lots of Christians are opposed to stem cell research, right? They think it's an immoral practice. And if I said, well, why do you think it's immoral? I'm guessing that most Christians would say, well, the moment an egg is fertilized, right, life begins, a soul is created, given by God, and that thing that has been created is a human person, right? It's sacred, it has value. So you can't just discard embryos or use them for medical research because you're essentially killing life that has intrinsic value, is sacred, and should not happen, right? And then someone who supports stem cell research would say, okay, but these are just little embryos and the research could save millions of lives. We might be able to help, untold numbers, because if we can cure Parkinson's disease, it will help everyone that has it now, but it will help every generation. There'll be thousands and thousands more that we can save, right? So it's like an exponential growth in terms of the good that this research could do for humankind. So on one side, you have people saying, I support stem cell research because it's for the greater good of humanity. On the other side, you have many Christians who say, I'm against it because life has intrinsic value. I don't care about the greater good. We can't treat life this way. But those same Christians that are opposed to stem cell research, if I ask them, well, is it okay to go to war? At least sometimes, like, is the Afghan or Iraq war justified? Many Christians would say, yes, war is okay. And then if I said, well, why is war okay? Why is war justified? They might say something like, well, it's not a good thing, but it's a necessary evil to get rid of Saddam Hussein, to capture Osama bin Laden, to stop terrorism, to keep people safe. It's for the greater good, right? It's the greater good. War is a bad thing, but it's for the greater good, to save more lives overall, to make things better, safer on the whole. And then someone opposed to war would say, maybe that's true, but all these people that are dying are soldiers, innocent civilians in Iraq, because of bombs and things, they can't get clean water, hospitals can't get electricity. We know that innocent people die in war. We know that it's awful. Someone might say, well, I'm opposed to war because all these people have intrinsic value. They're sacred, created in the image of God. And so we can't kill them even for the greater good, right? So I've just given you two scenarios. On one hand, the Christian says stem cell research is bad. It kills life which is sacred and intrinsically valuable. We don't care about the greater good. We don't care if you can cure disease, help millions of people. What we care about is the sacred life of the embryo that must be protected. But then that same Christian, when it comes to war, will shift their logic and say, yes, lives will be lost. Yes, people will die. Yes, sacred creatures will lose their lives, but it's for the greater good. On the whole, it will keep people safe and be better. Well, which is it? Are we okay with killing life for the greater good? Or are we going to protect the sacred status of human life and not seek the greater good, but seek the preservation of life at all costs? Which is it? We have these inconsistencies that need to be addressed. All of us do. I have them. Critical thinking says you should think about that. Why the inconsistency in logic? Why are you okay using the greater good to justify war? You're not okay using the greater good to justify stem cell research. What's the difference? How does this function? What does it look like? And we've got to explore those things. And in the end, critical thinking hopefully will help us pursue truth and create a coherent worldview where we don't have these contradictions, but have a consistent set of reasons and justifications grounded in maybe scripture, faith, evidence, the Bible, all kinds of things, right? So that's part of the importance of what we're doing here. Are there good, consistent arguments, both in morality, in theology, in politics, in the law, in relationships, that can help us navigate our world and our lives much better? One of the things that I think is important is that we have to feel a moral responsibility for our beliefs. You don't get to believe whatever you want. You just don't. You have to be responsible for your beliefs, and being responsible means being able to give a reason, to give account, to give good grounds and justification. Because beliefs lead to action. Beliefs are not private. Beliefs are public. What I mean by that is, if I hold racist beliefs and I say, well, these are my beliefs, I can believe whatever I want, it's a free country. That's true, but it's also very irresponsible if I can't give a good reason for them. Because my racist beliefs will filter out in my actions. They will become public. What you believe leads to how you behave. So your beliefs need to be responsible. We need to have good reasons. We need to be able to justify them, because they will inevitably lead to actions in the world that are problematic, you know? So we've got to think through what that looks like, that there's a moral imperative for you to really be responsible with the things you think, with your worldview, and with your beliefs, right? And hopefully this class will help you think through some of those big picture things to create a coherent sense of self, a nice worldview you can use to justify the things that you think and do. And that they're not random, they're not arbitrary, they're not just how you feel in the moment, they're not just what your parents think, they're not just what your pastor thinks, they're not just what I think or anyone else, but they really become fundamentally yours over time. Something I want to say as well, sort of like my second point, my transition here, is something I think that critical thinking can help us with is to carve out a middle ground between relativism and certainty. So I think most humans are driven to one extreme or another, okay? One extreme is the postmodern world we live in. Whatever, man. You come up with truth for yourself, and I'll come up with truth for myself, and I'll believe what I want, and you believe what you want. Whatever, right? I hate, whatever is my least favorite word in the English language. It's a give-up word. It's a lazy word. It's just, you just do whatever you're going to do, right? It means that truth is whatever I want it to be. It's what I make it. It's what you make it. And it means we don't really have to work. We don't really have to fight or pursue anything. And so it's a conversation stopper, right? I think we have to care about truth. I think we have to see that there are things that are capital T true, right? God exists or does not exist. It's true or it's false. When there's a car accident, something happened. Two cars collided at particular speeds for particular reasons, and truth occurred. Whether we can know absolute truth is a different question. That's a question of human knowledge. But something is true or false in the world, right? And we should care about that, and we should pursue it. So we can't just give up and say, well, just make it whatever you want, right? Relativism is lazy in its radical or extreme forms. Very few philosophers hold to it, right? The second extreme that I think we need to avoid is certainty. I know the truth, and I know it with certainty. I know it black and white, absolutely, here it is, right? We might just look at scripture or science or something, we say, no, this is the way it is, right? And I think that can be very dangerous. It leads to pride. If I know the truth, I don't have to listen to you, right? My version of listening is, I'll wait for you to get done talking so then I can tell you what the truth is, because I already know it. What's the point of education or learning if you already know the truth? It stops growth. It stops engaging other people. It stops, learning things along the way because, well, you already know it. Certainty is also dangerous because if you look through the history of the human race, more damage, more death, more destruction has been done because of certainty than because of relativism, right? When you're certain you're right, you're willing to kill other people because of it. When you know you have the answers, other people are the enemy who disagree with you and they need to be gotten rid of. So war, genocide, the Holocaust, all kinds of atrocities, terrorism, beheadings now, certainty. They know Allah is commanding them to do it. They know they're right. They know every non-Muslim is an infidel. They know, and they're willing to kill. They're willing to die for it. Certainty is a dangerous, dangerous thing because there's very few things we can be certain of. But when we have the attitude of certainty, we lose humility, we lose an open mind, we lose the ability to listen, and we shut people out. We tune people out, and at worst, we can even become exclusionary and violent, right? So I think naturally, we gravitate to one of these two extremes. I gravitate to the certainty side. I know I'm right. I have a reason for everything. I've got a strong opinion about everything. Many people gravitate towards relativism, like, hey, I don't really care, man, whatever. We've got to come to a middle ground that says we care about truth. We believe things are true or false. We want to pursue it diligently. We also know that we're limited as humans and we're never going to get the full truth. I will spend my life, I will spend however long I have on this earth pursuing truth, knowing that I'll die not knowing it fully. As much as I want to know God, God is transcendent, infinite, holy other. I will never fully know God, ever. There will always be elements of God unknown. So I'll pursue God. I'll get kernels of truth, little golden nuggets of truth along the way, right? You find them here, you find them there. It's awesome. You put them in your bag and you keep going. You add them to your worldview, you keep going. But I'll never have it all. It's like God took truth and shattered it, and it's sprinkled all around. And we can find it in science, and we can find it in history, we can find it in other cultures, we can find it in ourselves, we can find it in scripture, we can find it, and our lives are spent pursuing all of these sprinkled kernels of truth. So how do we do that? How do we pursue it knowing we don't have it? Right? If I pursue it knowing I don't already have it, it means I'm willing to listen, it means I'm willing to engage, it means I'm willing to be open-minded, because every person I encounter can add something to my worldview, can give me a kernel of truth. Even if in the end I disagree with them, they can contribute something to my worldview, right? So critical thinking is this middle way. We want to pursue the truth diligently. We love the truth. We want to make good arguments, have good evidence, you have good reasons and logic to help us get closer to the truth, right? And some worldviews are closer. Not all worldviews are equal. Relativism says every perspective is equally true because it's whatever we want it to be. But that can't be. Some worldviews are more thoughtful. Some worldviews are more consistent and coherent. Some worldviews have more evidence behind them. Some worldviews have more experience, more thought behind them. They're closer to the truth. Critical thinking says we want you and me to become the kinds of people that get closer to the truth, that have better reasons for our beliefs, where we're responsible for what we believe, and we can engage with each other with an open mind, with humility, because I don't have all the answers. I'm going to learn from you and grow. Even if we disagree, we're going to learn and grow. A middle road, not relativism, not certainty, right? And I think that's true of my pursuit of God, my pursuit of truth in Scripture, my pursuit of truth in my relationships, because I'm never going to fully know my wife. It's always a pursuit to know her better. My children, it's true of ethics and morality. I don't know what I ought to do all the time. I do the best I can, right, to figure out what the moral thing to do is. And that's sort of how we're going to approach the class. The last thing I want to talk about, and I've touched on it briefly, is to say the power of an open mind. You know, I don't want you to be so open-minded that your brain falls out. Having an open mind does not mean agreeing with everything that you hear. Having an open mind is willing to listen really carefully to other people. When you disagree with something, having an open mind means you don't discard it. You don't say, well, that's dumb, or that's ridiculous. Having an open mind means when you disagree with something, it prompts you to ask a question, to get curious. Okay, well, if you think that, why? Or is there a good reason? Do you have evidence? Or if that, what about this over here? You want to get curious and know more about it. That's what having an open mind does. It doesn't mean accepting what you hear. It doesn't mean accepting what you read or what you see on television. It means listening and saying, okay, let me ask some questions. Let me think about that further. Maybe I will agree in the end. Maybe I won't. But an open mind is willing to carefully consider. An open mind means you will really listen and engage. Again, my version of listening is I'll wait for you to stop talking so I can tell you the right answer. That's not listening. That's not humility. That's not open-mindedness. So I want to have humility that I don't have all the answers. I want to have humility that says, maybe this person is right and I'm wrong. That's possible, right? It's always possible. This person's right and I'm wrong. So I want to engage that way. Sometimes it's just modeling. When I'm talking to someone, what attitude do I want them to have? Let's say I'm talking to someone who I know disagrees with me. How would I want them to behave? Well, I'd want them to really listen to me. I'd want them to consider it. I want them to be open-minded, like maybe I have something to offer. Maybe I'm right on some points. And I'd want them to be humble. Well, if that's what I want from them, I have to model that. Critical thinking doesn't work unless we approach things with an open mind, with a passionate curiosity to ask questions and pursue truth, and to be responsible for the things that we think and believe. So that's sort of where we're headed in the class. I hope this is helpful to you. If you have any questions at all, let me know, and I will see you online.